UFC 294 is over and it was an amazing card, but Mark and I are going to go over who we think each person should fight next. But before we do that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So Mark, let's start with the big guy himself, Islam Makhachev. Who do you think he should fight next?
Straight answer, I think the one who deserves it is Justin Gaethje. Gaethje said previously that he's going to have one more run at the title, then that's him probably done. After defeating Dustin Poirier for the BMF belt, I think it makes sense. Islam took minimal damage in this fight, and I think they could lock that in for maybe even March, April, something next year. I think that fight makes complete sense.
Yeah, 100% I agree. Because with Charles Oliveira, I think he's missed the boat now. I've hated on him, I know, so much.
Forget about Charles.
I can't, because he'll be next in line, and he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be next in line, right? With Charles, he's pulled out twice already this year, missed weight last year. Get off the boat. Let someone else come in now. And I think it's Justin's turn. I want to see Justin versus Islam. I'm bored of rematches for Islam now. I want to see him fight someone new.
That's true. He's only defended his belt twice, and we're already bored of rematches. But in the sense of we've said before, the UFC moves quickly. It moves too fast. We don't have time to wait around for injuries, regardless of who you are. I've said this before about, Conor. We've spoke about this in the middleweight division about Dricus du Plessis. He missed the boat. He was injured, so Sean Strickland came in, took the belt off Adesanya. Yeah. Now, I think Charles, I think you're right. I think he's probably missed the boat for Islam, and he might even have to have another fight before he wedges himself in there for a title shot. Yeah. Hopefully, Dana and Hunter, whoever makes the matches, hopefully they all agree and not just give out another rematch and another rematch.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense.
He needs to fight someone new, and Justin's the perfect opponent. I think it'll be really interesting to see how Justin can deal with someone like Islam, because he fought Khabib before and he struggles with these big top heavy grapplers, but we've seen that sort of human side of Islam, that he doesn't perhaps have the strongest chin in comparison to someone like Khabib. So maybe Justin could get some success off, especially with he's got some good knockouts and some wicked leg kicks. So maybe he could pull something off. But with Islam, and talking of new fights, he's been talking about moving up a division. Would you be interested in seeing him fight the winner of Leon and Colby at the end of the year?
Definitely. I as a fan, I think that would be such an interesting fight. But I don't like how the standard has been set now. It's not good enough just to run a division. It's like a double champ status is always at the forefront of the minds. And I'm like, come on. Islam, there's a lot of other fights at lightweight that he could have before he chases that second belt. And I think people probably jump in the gun. It's almost like just being a champion isn't enough for these guys anymore. Yeah. They've got to be a double champ. Conor set the bloody standard. I can't wait. Well, no, I can wait until someone wants to be triple champ.
Yeah.
How long's that going to take?
Well, the only way I see that happening is maybe like in one of the women's divisions or something. Like my girl, Shang Wei Li, go up, beat Grasso, chin her, beat Pena for the vacant belt, my dream. But that's the only way I can see someone becoming a triple champion is in those women's divisions. But
very possible.
I think you make such a good point is it's not just enough to be a champion now in your own division. Like, look at Volk. Volk's, there's no doubt in my mind, the best featherweight ever now. He is the featherweight GOAT. And in some ways now, it kind of tarnished that legacy a bit because he's tried to move up and now lost twice. Will that kind of hinder his sort of GOAT status?
But that's when Volk's pretty much cleared out the division. Yeah. That he ended up going up for that second belt. Point, yeah. But when people, look, Islam's defended twice against someone who isn't a lightweight, and then he's talking about going up. There's plenty of other contenders at lightweight before he starts talking about this double champ status. I mean, I don't know just how sure he is that he wants to go up and fight the winner of Colby and Edwards. But there's, like we just said, Justin Gaethje. There's so many other fights at lightweight. I'm sure Dana White said in the press conference straight after 294 that, they've got plans for Poirier and Justin. So maybe this fight is the one. Justin, I think he came out pretty much unscathed as well. So did Islam. So surely it makes sense.
Yeah,
this is us, armchair fans. We don't sign the paychecks. We don't have to book the events. But just book that. It makes sense. It's a piece of piss. Get it done.
Good do. It is a fight I'm really interested in seeing, and I do want to see Islam move up. But I think you're right. I'm kind of fed up of how quick they give these guys, a double shot. You know, that they did the same with Conor. You know, he won the belt, and they went, right, you're now going to fight for a double belt. I think it with Izzy as well. Did Izzy have one defence, and then they put him up against Jan?
Yeah, there were Costa. I can't remember now. It was either one or two.
Either way. It was quick either way, and it's becoming a real problem now. It's like I don't want people becoming double champs till they've cleared out their division. That's what you've got to do. You've got to make your statement on that division, defend loads of times, and then move up. You know, and it's no slight on Islam because he deserves it just as many as these other guys have stepped up. But it's for me in general, I don't like the way they do that. But talking of a champion who moved up a division, we've got Alexander Volkanovski. I think it's clear who he's going to fight next. But I'm going to ask you anyway, who should Volk fight next?
Oh, definitely move up and fight Paddy Pimblett. Topuria he's even said, it's 3 months away. He's got plenty of time to recover, get that. If he beats Topuria, don't want to get too far into it, but you think, well, what else, though? He's in that Max Holloway territory, and he's getting older.
He's got a year left,
Volk's 35, so especially at featherweight, you wonder how long he has got left, but he'll definitely be the king of that division. He still is.
Yeah.
He's still the champion. Let's put some respect on his name here.
100%.
He's lost to a monster at lightweight, which isn't even his weight class.
Exactly.
Twice, but
and you make such a good point there is what's next for Volk. Like, if he finishes off Topuria, then what? Who's he going to fight next? So I think, because we've talked about him, will he get another shot at lightweight? And the answer's probably no, he won't get it against Islam. Unless, when he beats the Topuria, he leaves the featherweight division for good. He goes, right, that's it, me done. He hangs up that belt, and he goes in and starts fighting contenders and works his way up and fights Islam. Because there's a lot of fights I would love to see Volk go up against. My dream fight, even though he's not a number one contender, is Chandler versus Volk. Just two shorty guys, Diddy boxing, going for it. I think that'd be such a fun fight.
It'd be amazing. I mean, I don't get the hate for Michael Chandler in general. Every single one of his fights in the UFC have been bangers, win, lose or draw. But yeah, I agree with Volk. I mean, there's so many fights at lightweight I'd love to see him do. If he retired the featherweight belt and then decided to move up, similar to John Jones, you think, well, that's him now going for legacy. He isn't doing it for money, as Islam was telling him this week.
Which is a stupid...
I didn't get that.
It really annoyed me that with Islam this week.
I could tell.
Because, I'm no hater of Islam or anything like that, but when he's going, oh, yeah, Volk's only here for money, he's got nothing to... I thought, are you kidding? He's got nothing... He's come, he saved your card, he's probably made it a bigger pay-per-view for you, he's come out on 10 minutes notice.
Yeah. Well, we said like yesterday, it was
everything on the line.
Risking everything, and now he probably has lost his shot. He even said in the post-fight conference himself that he's going to have to. It's ridiculously slim his chances of getting another shot at Islam, because when a potential trilogy is 2-0 already, unless you're Max Holloway.
Yeah.
but like you say, beats Topuria, then what? I'd like to see him, like you said, retire that belt and I'm going to have a proper crack. The last few years of his career, he's done enough to establish himself as he could just take the sort of legacy fights now.
Yeah.
Imagine him versus Chandler, Volk versus Gaethje.
Yeah.
Pure.
Real fun.
These are dream fights, especially when they're both nearing the kind of end. You never want to push retirement on someone, especially when they look this good as well. That's the key part. But there's no denying
that Volk's 35, going to be coming up to 36. He ain't got long left now. That's a fact, isn't it?
Unfortunate, yeah. It's an unfortunate fact, but hats off to him.
But talking about a guy who's probably near the end, we move on to Kamaru Usman. It's really tricky with Usman because he's now in such a difficult spot. It's always a problem when a champion drops down. It almost seems like people are somewhat beneath them in a way. I know that sounds silly to say, but they're fighting these lower contenders, and it's almost like, but why are they going to fight them? Because they're always a blink away from another title shot. So with Usman coming off a loss against Hamzat, where would you like to see him go next, and who would you like to see him fight?
I think I'd like to see Usman take a little bit of time out. This was a short notice fight. Obviously, you're trying to recoup after the third Leon Edwards fight. A fight I've always wanted to see is him versus Wonderboy. But when he was champion, Wonderboy wasn't active enough. He wasn't getting enough wins to rack it up. Obviously, Wonderboy's scheduled in for later this year. But with the time off that Usman could have, they come back. Because whoever Usman fights next has got to be a big name because it's Kamaru Usman. Let's keep the respect on his name as well. So it can't just be a nobody. It never would be a nobody. But Stephen Thompson, I think that fight makes sense because Stephen Thompson's, 40, 41? But he still brings it. He doesn't slow down one bit, has he? We were talking about Volk being 35. Thompson's never looked better, has he, in the kickboxing? I mean, you don't want to play matchmaker so much to get a certain fighter to get the win, but, if Usman wrestled Wonderboy, there's a good chance of it going either way because I think you've got to be fair. Who would you like to see Usman fight?
Well, talking of Usman fighting a big name, you've got to remember the name Belal. Terrible. I hate his nickname. I hate when he says that. But I think the ideal matchup is Usman versus Belal. I think that's a perfect number one contender fight. The winner of that then gets to fight the winner of Colby and Edwards. And if Usman beats Belal, the issue is he'll have fought one guy a fourth time and then another guy in another trilogy. So when you've got this big dominant, not even dominant champion anymore, dominant contender, it's where does he go? What does he do? So it's really, really tricky for him. So I imagine Belal versus Usman probably in a few months' time, 4 or 5 months.
I think Belal's sadly in the position that Colby has been for about 2.5 pissing years, where he could just wait for that title shot. Belal, coming off the quite one-sided win against Gilbert Burns, he would be able to just wait out the winner of Colby and Leon and then all of a sudden just throw his name in there and he can just step up. I think, as much as it pains me to say, because let's face it, look, you can say remember the name, but he is one boring bastard to watch. But he could just sit there and throw his name in there and get a title shot. So, unfortunately, I think Belal might
just wait it out, yeah. But then again, if Islam does move up and that's the plan, it puts everything in disarray. I don't envy Hunter Campbell and Dana. It must be so hard.
No.
You think, this guy's won, he wants to move up. Where do we shuffle all this around?
Yeah.
It's really, really tricky, isn't it? So, but then, of course, there's Khamzat Chimaev, who beat Usman for a number one contender spot. So we imagine the plan is for him to fight Strickland next.
Jumping the gun.
It's almost inevitable, isn't it?
We thought Israel was, though.
That's
Israel
true.
And Sean.
That's true.
But I think that makes complete sense because, they did say that was a number one contender shot for that. Let's not forget how active Sean Strickland is, but now he's the champion. It isn't just him to play with. He can't just slot in anyway. It's got to make sense for the contender, whoever he's fighting. Khamzat broke his hand in the first round against Usman, so we're like, we're presuming that he's going to have a bit of time off. Sean might have to get used to not being in a training camp and actually,
I don't think he will. I think, yes, he cannot be as active as he was. That's not possible. You're right. He can't fight on one pay-per-view and then fight on the pay-per-view the month after. Like, was it December last year?
Yeah, it was the last pay-per-view of 2022, and he was on the first
fight night. Yeah, which is insane, isn't it? It's wild. So he's going to be looking to be active, probably about the same as Izzy was. Every 3-4 months, that kind of thing. But if Khamzat's injured, and he's got his hand broken, that could be 2 months recovery time. Then he's got to start training again. That's 3 months away at least. Probably looking 2-3 months till Khamzat's ready to fight. Strickland will be wanting a fight before then. So who would Strickland fight next instead?
I think the obvious answer is Dricus du Plessis, but does that sell? Does Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis sell? Again, I don't envy Hunter, Dana, whatever. It makes sense. But you wonder, that would maybe have to be the co-main event of a bigger card, something true. Like that.
That's a good point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be he's the headline. He could be a co-main. That's a really good point. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Especially, you could have a bigger champion up there somewhere. Something like another Jones or something like that. Big. So yeah, that makes it a good point. I think that makes it easier to book. And I think him versus du Plessis would be probably the right fight to make. I thought they'd do Izzy again, even though Izzy doesn't deserve a rematch. It sells well, but Izzy's come out and said, look, I'm going to take some time off. But he said that after the Alex loss, and he came back 3 months later to fight him again. So you never know with Izzy. His time off just seems like a short holiday. But then we move on to which is clearly an obvious answer. We already know they're going to fight Johnny Walker and Ankalaev. They're this confusing matchup. I don't see how that's a no contest. I've ranted about it every second since the fight happened. I don't think I've shut up. I don't see how you can get kneed in the head, get marked down as you can't continue, and it's a no contest. It's a DQ win.
I know.
Makes no sense.
That's the annoying thing. There's no consistency. But the rematch the rematch is what fight I'd like to see next between them two. I think it just makes total sense.
Yeah.
Look, this happened with Ankalaev with Kutalaba. Do you remember when he was playing possum that he was out and the ref stopped it and he's like, what the hell are you doing? They did the rematch and Ankalaev flattened him. But, could well happen again. I mean, it was a shame because it was one of the... I was looking forward to this fight so much on this card because it was very top heavy. Let's not pretend that 294 was very top heavy.
Yeah. But
this fight was one of those, it's kind of wedged in there. This will be interesting, both
it had potential to be fight of the night, didn't it?
Yeah, it could have done, yeah. I mean, the small amount that we saw, I was, impressed by both. So it's one of those, it needs a conclusive ending. There's no closure to this. So I'd love to see them two run it back. Maybe even to spice up UFC 295 because that's looking a little lackluster.
Yeah, and they're both fresh to go. I mean, Johnny's got a bit of a cut on his head, but that'll heal up quick, a couple of weeks. So you could have them at 295 in 3 weeks' time. Stick them on there. That'd be great because it's a really lackluster card, isn't it? At the
really soon, yeah. I didn't realise that. Yeah.
So obviously it's great on the top. I mean, the main and co-main are really exciting, but there's some guy I don't even know. So I know, call me casual. I'm not bothered. I don't know who it is.
That's Andrade.
No, she's fourth, isn't she? Well, the fight nearly ended in the octagon there and then. They were both ready to go.
Well, you know that something's actually going down when Dana White's in the cage. When he's not wrapping a belt around someone and he's in the cage, something's going down. I think he was just having PTSD of Conor and Khabib. Johnny Walker didn't go and do a moonsault onto Ankalaev's coaches, though, did he?
He looked stressed out, didn't he? But I think, stick these two guys on 295. That's the perfect spot for them. Or even not 296. That's rammed,
It's
isn't it?
stacked.
You could stack a fight night with them. That could be a good fight night.
You could, but then, again, this is just... We only seen a minuscule amount of information with Johnny Walker. It could well have actually been out of it. We don't know. We couldn't even hear it. Yeah. We'll see what the fallout is this week, whether Johnny Walker can continue. I mean, it looked like he was ready to go anyway, didn't he?
Was ready to go,
as a greedy fan, I'd love to see it on UFC 295, but we'll have to wait and see. Spice up that card. It's a bit lackluster, isn't it? Come on. You've only got one of the greatest combat athletes of all time on there, John Jones. I mean, come on.
That's such a good point.
I know, yeah. And Stipe Miocic.
And Yuri Alex.
Yeah, I know, yeah. We're like, it's a bit of a shit card, really, isn't it? Yeah.
We're just so greedy. But I'm really, really excited to see what all of these guys do next. But I think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.